Freezing and desperate, the alien woman whispered, "Take my body for one night. Just give me a blanket." The snow fell in slow, relentless curtains outside the old research dome, swirling around like tiny frozen specters. Inside, Kellen Bannock crouched near a flickering heater, nursing the mug of instant coffee he'd made stretch for hours. The silence of this wasteland had grown familiar over the months he'd spent here, a lonely caretaker of a forgotten outpost on a dying planet. It was supposed to be an easy contract. Keep the old equipment running for a year while the scientific foundation figured out if this world still had something to offer. But winter had come earlier and harder than the reports predicted, and Kellen found himself locked in by ice and storms, seeing no one but the reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror. That night, as the wind howled like a living thing, Kellen thought he heard something else, something that wasn't the moan of ice against metal. At first, he dismissed it as a trick of the storm. Then it came again, a thump, weak but insistent, near the airlock door. Kellen set his mug down and moved quietly, heart pounding. Who could be out there in this cold? A salvager? A criminal? Or just a fool caught in the storm? He opened the inner door cautiously, flashlight beams slicing through the swirling snow beyond the small, outer vestibule, and that's when he saw her. She lay sprawled on the frozen ground, skin pale as frost, hair a tangled mass of silvery white that clung to her shoulders. What little clothing she wore was torn and soaked, clinging to curves that looked almost human but with an uncanny grace that whispered of something otherworldly. Her lips moved as she tried to speak, breath coming out in ragged gasps that steamed in the freezing air. Kellen pulled the outer door closed behind her and dragged her inside, laying her gently near the heater. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing eyes like molten silver, wide and filled with raw desperation. "I'm freezing," she whispered, voice shaking as badly as her body. "Give me a blanket and my body is yours for one night." Kellen froze, staring down at her, the words hanging in the air like smoke. He could see every trembling breath, the way frost had formed on her lashes and the bruises blooming on her pale skin. "Forget that," he muttered, tearing his jacket off and wrapping it around her shoulders. "We need to get you warm before you die." She didn't resist, letting him guide her closer to the heater. Her body was so cold, it almost burned his hands. Kellen fetched a heavy thermal blanket, wrapped her in it, then ran to boil water, cursing softly under his breath. What kind of monster would take advantage of someone so close to death? After a while, some color returned to her face. Her breathing slowed, and the violent shivers eased. She looked up at him then, lips parting as if to speak, but no words came. Just relief. For hours, they stayed like that. Kellen fed the fire, kept the heater running, and made her sip warm broth. When she could finally speak again, her voice was softer, almost broken. "My name is Yeren," she said, silver eyes fixed on the steaming cup in her hands. "Kellen," he replied. "What happened to you out there?" "I escaped," she whispered. "From them." Kellen waited, but she didn't elaborate. Instead, her gaze wandered over the room. Old metal walls, cracked monitors, dusty scientific instruments. She seemed both fascinated and afraid, as though she couldn't decide if this place was salvation or another prison. She tried to stand, but her legs gave way. Kellen caught her, feeling her fragile bones under skin that felt like ice. She steadied herself on his arm, her breath brushing his neck. "I'm sorry," she murmured, voice tinged with shame. "When I said about giving you my body, it was the only bargain I thought you'd accept." "You don't owe me anything," Kellen said, almost angry at the idea. "You were dying. Anyone would have helped." Her eyes flickered with something like disbelief. "No," she whispered. "Not everyone." The storm raged for 2 more days. During that time, Yuren slept, ate, and slowly regained strength. Kellen watched her, torn between wonder and worry. She was unlike anyone he'd ever seen, her skin traced with faint silvery markings that seemed to shimmer in the low light, her movements graceful even when weak. When she finally had the strength, she spoke more. "They hunt my kind," she explained, her gaze distant. "We escaped our keepers, but the cold, it's worse than the chains." "You're an alien?" Kellen asked softly, though he knew the answer. She nodded. "Not so different from humans," she said, voice like drifting snow. "But different enough to be owned, to be sold." His gut twisted at that word. Sold. "Are there others out there?" he asked. "Not anymore," she whispered. "I was the last." Silence settled between them, heavy and sharp as broken glass. Outside, the snow still fell, as if the world itself mourned with them. That night, Kellen woke to find her standing by the small, fogged-up window, watching the storm. "You should rest," he said. "I can't sleep," she replied. "I keep thinking of him. Of what happens if they find me." Kellen hesitated, then stepped closer. "They won't," he said. "Not while you're here." She turned, eyes shining. "Why?" she asked. "Why risk yourself for me?" "I don't know," Kellen admitted, voice low. "Maybe because no one should be left out there to die." She looked at him for a long time. Then, slowly, she reached out, her fingers brushing his. Her skin was warmer now, but still cool compared to his. "I'm not offering out of desperation this time," she whispered, "but because I want to feel alive, even if just for a night." Kellen's heart pounded. Her touch was gentle, almost reverent, as if she feared he might shatter. They didn't speak after that. In the small warmth of the room, they drew close, sharing heat and breath and something deeper, a silent understanding that, for this moment, neither of them was truly alone. By morning, the storm had eased. Pale light filtered through the snow-covered dome, casting soft shadows. Yuren lay curled against him, her hair a silver spill across the blanket. Kellen watched her sleep, something stirring in his chest he hadn't felt in years. Hope. But hope can be fragile. A low hum cut through the morning calm, the unmistakable sound of engines. Yuren jolted awake, eyes wide with fear. "They've found me," she breathed. Kellen grabbed his coat, heart hammering. Outside, through the frosted window, dark shapes moved in the snow, 3 figures, heavy cloaks wrapped against the cold, approaching with the slow certainty of hunters. "They'll kill you if you protect me," Yuren whispered, voice shaking. "I won't let them take you," Kellen said. "Stay here." She caught his hand. "Don't do this," she begged. "Not for me." But he was already moving, stepping out into the bitter cold. The snow burned his face, the wind cutting like knives, but he stood firm as the figures closed in. The lead hunter pulled back his hood, revealing cold eyes and a scarred face. "Step aside," the man growled. "She belongs to us." "She's free," Kellen shot back. "No," the hunter sneered. "She's property, and you're in our way." The first blow sent Kellen sprawling into the snow. He tasted blood, vision blurring, but pushed himself up. Inside the dome, Yuren watched, horror twisting her features. "Kellen!" she cried out. The second hunter raised a weapon, a black, needle-like pistol that hummed with power. Yuren screamed. The air shimmered around her, markings on her skin flaring to life. Power surged from her like a wave of heat, snow melting around her in an instant. The hunters staggered back, eyes wide, but Yuren stepped forward, her body a living storm of silver light. "Leave him," she commanded, voice echoing like thunder. "Or you will never leave this place." The hunters hesitated, but then turned and fled, stumbling into the snow, fear overpowering greed. When it was over, Yuren dropped to her knees, the light fading. Kellen rushed to her, catching her before she fell. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I couldn't let them take you either," she whispered. They held each other, breath steaming in the cold morning air. Days passed. The hunters did not return. In the quiet that followed, Kellen and Yuren repaired what they could of the dome, sharing meals and stories under the flickering lights. Slowly, the terror faded, replaced by something softer, stronger. One night, as they watched the snow fall beyond the window, Yuren spoke, voice barely louder than the wind. "I offered you my body to survive," she said. "But you gave me something I never dare hope for." "What's that?" Kellen asked. "A choice," she whispered, "and a future." He took her hand, their fingers entwining in the dim light. "Then let's find it together," he said. Outside, the snow still fell, but inside, for the first time in a long time, there was warmth and the promise of something worth staying alive for.